Welcome to the Nerds Social Club podcast, episode 96. Ooh, getting very close to the 100 mark. Where we will be doing probably absolutely nothing to celebrate it. So let's not get excited about it. We could go over the best bits of the podcast, but I can't be arsed editing that. And what you do, you go like the best bits of talk about when something was coming out ages ago. I don't think so. So let's not worry about it.
I was gonna say.
Just leave.
We'll have a round of applause.
Yeah, just
clap.
Just to pat ourselves on the back for a minute at the beginning of the show and then move on.
An entire minute.
Well, I mean, you'd have a big red shoulder, wouldn't you? Big red shoulder.
Last week it was tips. Big red shoulders this week.
Yeah, I don't know what we do. I'm not thinking about it. See, it's so far away. It's not. We're doing the show live as well. We are live on YouTube as we speak. So if you're watching and you want to get involved in the show on whatever we're talking about, or drop something in that we're not talking about. If you've seen something this week, I mean, don't go like, who's your favourite Lord of the Rings character? Like, you know what I mean? Don't do something like that. Just like drop something topical in, like something you've watched this week, like a recommendation or something, you know, whether it's a trailer. A lot of trailers this week. We're going to be talking about a lot of trailers this week. Obviously, Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 4, which was amazing. It was the best one yet, wasn't it? It was so good. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that at the end of the show, just in case you haven't seen it. Obviously, episode 5 tomorrow is, as we record tomorrow, is going to be epic as well, I imagine. But we always like to start the show by talking about what we have watched this week. So, Aaron, I'm going to throw it over to you. What have you been watching this week?
I have been watching The English Game on Netflix.
Oh, so good.
Highly recommended it.
So good.
Suitor. Yeah, but it's really good. I was genuinely surprised by because I think you were the one who told me that, like, although it's like a football show, it's got more to do with, like, you know, the actual construct of the game.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, the lives of the people.
Politics and classes and...
This is a gentleman's game. And
Blackburn,
all this,
Milltown and all that kind of thing. And money as well. Money in the game. Yeah. They talk about money ruining the game now. Money was in the game then, ruining it.
Yeah. This is a gentleman's game. You don't get paid.
As they run around kicking the holy shite out of each other. Like, this is a gentleman's game. Look, I am wearing tights that are tied at the bottom.
The boots as well. Like made me laugh in the show, and you're like, God, their feet must have been torn up, man.
We had funny enough, on Toffee TV, we had a guy who starred in one of the episodes. I think he starred. I think he was a very minor part, but he actually wrote part of one of the episodes as well, and he actually helped get Everton into the episode and stuff. So that's where we.
I noticed that one. Yeah, with the shared tails. Yeah.
So that's where we sort of picked it up from last year. But yeah, I think I watched it like at this time last year or just a little bit later. It came out. Excellent show. Really, really good. Sort of the football is obviously the backdrop, helps for the rest of the show, you know, and it did have kind of, it was actually written by the people who wrote Downton Abbey as well. So it was just another way of showing how the game, which is now like the people's game, was then a game for the you know, the upper classes and was played in universities and that kind of thing. So but I mean,
even like the whole like backdrop of, like, you know, how much it meant to the people, and like, you know, for some of the people, like, they lived in a mill town, like, you know, there was one place to work, and like they didn't, like, wages constantly getting cut, and it was just like that was the big thing they had to look forward to week to week.
At least they got to go out. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
living in a pandemic.
You know, they might have got rickets, but they didn't have to fear leaving the house without a face mask. No, it's a really good show. I really like shows like that it just creep up and just surprise you. And really good show.
Yeah, I also watched for the first time, because I've been trying to go through my back catalogues of movies. Watched Platoon, because I know everyone talks very highly of it, and phenomenal. I mean, it's dark. Jesus,
very
it's dark.
Yeah,
I was not expecting it to get that, like, and it's war. I get it, but like, it gets grim.
Yeah, it's It's a great film. It's another film I didn't watch when it first came out. Like, it came out in '87, and I was a child, and it was too dark. And it's like the anti-Forrest Gump, isn't it? You know what I mean? Then you see Forrest Gump in the jungle, and I know that's bad, like what happens in that one, but it is like all the way the war takes over, and they're obviously it's not painted like a lot of films at the time where it was like it was painted like it was really bad in Vietnam, which obviously it was, and obviously a little bit like First Blood as well when that first came out, and it was like the first one was so good. When John Rambo came back and he had obviously had post-traumatic syndrome, I didn't call it then, but it showed that Vietnam was a hellhole. It was only afterwards when he went back and he went to Afghanistan, they made a big thing. They made him like the big American hero. With the first one's like he's not, and I think that's the similar in some like Platoon. There's a couple more like Full Metal Jacket and things like that. They're quite similar. They show the absolute horrors. Born on the 4th of July as well is another one. I don't know if you've ever seen Born on the 4th of July. That's another one. I reckon it's probably Tom Cruise's best performance, because again it's about this. It's Oliver Stone film, obviously, but it's this idea of all American hero, signing up. It's our duty. It's our right. We have to go. Convincing all the boys in the diner. We have to go in a small town, and he gets shot in the back, and he ends up being in like the hospital. When you see like the hospital, like Forrest Gump and stuff, they're just absolute disgusting, and it's like that, and he obviously loses his legs and stuff, and it's what happens when he comes back, and it's a brilliant film. Honestly, it's so good.
Well, that's kind of what I really enjoyed about Platoon, like how it showed that level. But like even if it said, I think Charlie Sheen says in it, like most of the people who came into the army were people who didn't have very good job prospects, and like they knew they weren't going anywhere after this. And you've got that one lad who's just like, well, I figure, we just die, what's the point? So like no one's judging us here, so just do what you want. And, like he's an absolute sicko, man.
And they did.
Yeah. And then you've got that the general fella who's running around and he thrives. Like you can just tell he just genuinely loves control, having a group of people he can control who listens, and it's just but like I said, very, very dark.
It's a really, really, really good film. Last of the Corinthians says the score says the scene when they're getting stoned. And
he's smoking it through the end of the
gun,
barrel of the
gun. And David Gibson says the score is amazing in Platoon. It is. That's isn't it Adagio for strings? It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's Adagio for strings. That isn't it? Yeah, it's a brilliant film, and it's like timeless as well, because obviously it's reflecting a period in time, so it's timeless, and fantastic film. Yeah, it's good to catch up on films like that, though.
I was going to say it's still the perfect time to do it before we're actually allowed back out into the real world, and we can watch. We can just get out and see each other, have a pint. What about you, Ped? What have you been watching?
I haven't really watched anything this week. I'll be honest. There's not really anything I've binged or anything. Obviously, I watched. I'm trying to think what I watched. I've just completely lost what I've lost. I watched literally just tonight. I've watched a new show that was on Channel 4 called The Frank of Ireland, which is a new comedy, starring. Now, how did you pronounce his name before?
Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson, yeah. Who was Domhnall Gleeson? Yeah, who was in Harry Potter, was also in Star Wars,
Black Mirror.
Yeah, Ex Machina, The Revenant.
Yeah.
He's in a show with his brother, and his brother's the main character in it, who is Frank. But his dad also makes an appearance, and I only realised tonight that his dad is Brendan Gleeson, who was also in Harry Potter, who's Mad Eye. I did not realise that was his dad. I don't know how they didn't put that connection together, but
I'd never even realised.
I hadn't realised.
He's in absolutely everything as well. He's like the typical Irish guy.
Yeah, he's in Bruges, isn't he? And he's in Edge of Tomorrow as well as the Colonel. So, yeah, it was funny. It was mad Irish comedy. So I watched that before. So and I watched For All Mankind as well, the latest episode of that, which is brilliant. You've completely caught up on that. It's just anyone who's not watching. I know we spoke about it last week, but it's absolutely mad show. Just
that one scene right near the end was horrible.
Yeah. There was a scene in it, and I'm sure it was they got all the science in it, squared off. But there's basically a scene that shows or claims to show what happens if you get shot in space. I mean, I think that's all I need to say about what kind of show this is. Someone gets literally shot in space, and
I mean, even the build up to them taking like weapons into space is not just like, oh yeah, we developed laser guns. Like they actually like talk about it like for a couple of episodes. Like the entire season is kind of like one of these things they've been building up towards. So, it's not just like they introduce it randomly. And
this is a show. By the way, this is a show about the space race and the Cold War. So as you can imagine, it escalates, and when they're fighting for territory in space and the moon. So, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's on Apple TV. Really, really good show. Yeah, that's all I've really watched. I've watched loads of episodes. Tell you what I did get to see. I've been watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I actually got to see the episode where he's looking at the board and it's all the it's all the line, it's all the line, not that boss meme that's on everything, but it's like Charlie's looking at the board.
I figured it all. Figured it all out.
And but I love the fact that though the episode is just complete nonsense. Like all the episodes are nonsense. They're the worst humans in the world, honestly. But the episode is like the two of them, Charlie and Mac, find out that like they need health insurance. They need health insurance to get treated in hospitals. And they're like, what's going on with this country? It's turned into some kind of socialist communist experiment because we've got to pay. And it's like, yeah, okay. So they decide to get side jobs, and they get it in basically in this in the mailroom of some corporation. And basically they're just like, Charlie's just he's always on glue basically, and he's just he's just like, all this mail's coming back. Where is it? Where is that person? Where have they gone? What's going on? And like Mac's just like, that person's literally been asking for their mail all week. And also we've been fired. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's just one of those, like, every episode just goes absolutely off the wall. Like, just goes in the direction you just never expected to go. Like, I can't even remember half the episodes now, but I remember one where he's got this, like, a rap bat or something. I think it's Charlie. Isn't it Charlie? There's one with, like, Charlie's birthday, and he's just, like, they keep pulling him out and trying to, like, do nice things for him. Like, by the end of the episode, they're like, I don't know, we just put barbed wire on the end of your baseball bat so you can kill rats quicker in the basement. And he's just like, this is the nicest thing ever. So weird. They got Sinbad in one of the episodes.
Sinbad was in one of the episodes this week that I watched. It was absolutely mental.
Was that one of the ones where they go to the mental institution?
Yeah, where they it's crackers. They're just the worst people in the world. They're so horrible, and they're like so entitled.
Have you ever seen the Christmas episode yet with Mac, when they show Mac as a kid?
I don't know. No.
There's an episode where they're talking about Christmas and like trying to relive, like, Christmas just isn't as fun as it used to be, and they start doing all these flashbacks to when they were kids and they had Christmas.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
To me, I won't spoil it for you. It's just funny.
One. I was watching one the last one I watched last night was one where they try and get their pub to be putting on the historical route for Philadelphia, and then they claim it was like they go through this story of when the pub was around, when the British was about to be the revolution, and it was just, honest to God, it's just so stupid, but brilliant at the same time. They're just crackers, absolutely crackers. Like, I'd heard things about it, but I'd never like understood like what it was about, and they're just horrible though. They're just the way. Yeah. It's and the like I can't even like describe how horrible it is. But there's one last night where two of them are trying to get fit, so they go to this spin class and they just walk over to the guy's CD player and start taking the CD out and want to place it with a Steve Winwood album. And he's like, no, and they're like, who are you to tell me no? I'm coming to your spin class. It's just like, but it's just the way they do it. It's just that entitlement. It's horrible, but at the same time, it's just like you can't help but keep watching because it's just.
Well, I was gonna say, and even some of the characters in it, you know what I mean? Like Cricket's just such a mad character in it, and then his family as well. Have you seen the episode we see part of Cricket's family?
No, I don't think I've seen that one yet. But
or it might be the one where they go to like an Eagles game or something like that, and there's this weird family.
No, that's not his family. That's the two.
Oh, yeah.
That's the two incest brothers' family. Jimmy Tingo, who's in Westworld, one of them, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it's just they have this weird incest family, and they're horrible, and they keep on turning up at the bar just wearing robes. And they're just horrible, and they're white and like hairy, and they're horrible. And the sister's horrible, and it's just they're like they're just dead weird. But talking about that, there was a trailer this week for the new series season 2 of Mythic Quest, which actually does have a few of the people who are in a few of the people who are in this. And I actually realised Cricket's in it as well. He's one of the he's like one of the bosses in the gaming company. Use the forces, the McPoles. McPoles, is that what? That's the family, yeah.
Oh, the McPoyles.
Yeah. So they're horrible. They are absolutely horrible. Mythic Quest, which has got a lot of the people out of it. It's Charlie Day and Rob McIntyre.
McPartland.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Done my research. It's their show, but there's a lot of like the same writing team, and it's like more of a. Because I'm still in the area. I'm like season 4, so it's still like 2006. They still got like flip phones. They're still talking about like Friends United and stuff like that. It's weird to watch it, and that's the stuff. But this feels like a lot more polished version of that show. And obviously in a different setting with slightly nicer characters. But Mythic Quest, really good as well. That's another Apple TV show that's really worth watching. So that came out this week. That's back in May. So looking forward to that as well. But what other trailers have come out this week?
Well, we did get, I think, the most bonkers trailer of the week, and one that you and I were venting about was the Fast 9 trailer.
Fast 9, baby. Right.
Which was like 5 minutes long. I completely lost my interest after like a minute 45.
Oh, it's so boring. It is so ridiculously boring. Like, I watched it the other day, and by the time I'd finished it, I'd felt like I'd watched the entire film. Like, it just had these beats that you could basically go, right, well, that's one part of the film, and then there'll be like a thing and to get that through, and then this will be the next part of the film, and then there'll be the thing, and then this bit is the next part, and every beat in the trailer was just a different part of the film, and it was just, I was sitting there just bored, like going, I feel like I've seen the film now, and it adds, I just feel like it was just auto, and I don't mind those films. They are just, I know they've gone like daft, and they're like, they've said like the superhero films and the cars are the superheroes, but this one just looks like it may have just jumped the shark.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned shark, because I heard something ridiculous this week that they were toying about somehow connecting it into the Jurassic World franchise as well, and saying it was basically within the same universe. And like, now that the dinosaurs are out, they were gonna like somehow pair it together. I was like, well, that sounds about right, doesn't it, for everything else they're doing? I mean, they look like they're what was that puppet show like when we were younger? Like I guess it was on like early 80s, probably the one with Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah,
Thunderbird Doggo. And like the bit in the trailer where like he jumps off the back and like now they're flying through and they're gonna go into the water, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's just Thunderbirds. Like it's nuts.
See,
like,
I'd have no.
And that's the thing.
I'd have no problem if it was in the Jurassic World world if they all got it. I have no problem with that. Like if Velociraptor turned up and like Vin Diesel opened the door and it just bit his head off, I'd have absolutely zero. Blue just turns up and just destroys him. But it'd probably more like they'd get a like big lorry and hit a T-Rex, and then they'd have a cookout and the T-Rex would be on the barbecue. Do you know what I mean? That's more like it, isn't it?
Who wants the leg?
Be like, yeah. Like Dom's like, we're all family here. No one's getting little arms on my watch. You know, like, what are you talking about, you big tit?
Yeah.
You've got the worst family. Your family's so bad, you let your brother-in-law die, so shut up.
I was going to say, and now his brother turns up. And
and it just happens to be John Cena, who's a completely different complexion, hairline, everything. Oh, you've got muscles? We must be related. Like...
We're family.
We share the same studs.
Blood is blood because we've shared needles.
David Gibson says, I don't understand how Han is alive. I thought he died in Tokyo Drift. Well,
I don't understand how any of them are alive.
I don't know.
All these insane things are like, no, that would just...
What I love about Han is, right, so Han was in Tokyo Drift, which is like the third film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was like when it was basically dead, and he was in this third film where it was like this American went and they all just wanted to learn how to drive cars, and he was the teacher, and he died in that, right? And then when he came back and they were like, no, this happened before, they were like, he kept on saying, I just want to get back to Tokyo, and he's still all like, you'll make it one day, like, and it was all this, every little joke was like, are we gonna go to Tokyo? Are we gonna go to Tokyo? We'll get there eventually. And it was like, and then he got back to Tokyo and he retconned his death. Like, Thingyo killed him, didn't he? What's his name? The baldy English guy.
Oh, Jason
Statham, who was the brother of the bad guy in like Fast and Furious 6, Luke Evans. He kills him. So basically, he's having a race with him or something. And then when he's like, he crashes, which is what you obviously see in the other film. He's like lying in the car and he walks over, and I think he either shoots him. He phones Dom and he's like, got a message for you, alright? Leave my brother alone. Oh, shoot him. I don't even know his name. I just know he's a slag. And and he's on the phone to him while he kills him. So therefore he's dead. He died twice. And now he's come back. But what's even worse is,
he's a cyborg.
He's an assassin. And they've given it away already. It's like, they give it away that he's coming back. Like, and now he's like, in the trailer, you see him come back. Why couldn't he have just held the nerve? And imagine the reveal when it would have been a film for the people who watch this. You know, it would have been brilliant for them. Like, you know, if this was Marvel, there was no way Marvel would have let that out the bag. Absolutely.
You've literally got people in PR standing off camera, just like, don't you fucking say anything. Yeah. Don't you say anything. We're standing right here, like ready to just like write up a contract, like fining them like money. It's probably built into the contracts as well. You're not allowed to say anything, or we'll come down on you like a ton of bricks. And then yet Fast 9, releases this like 4-minute trailer, basically just showing all what looks like the best bits of the film. Why?
If they're the best bits,
it could have been like 3 different trailers. I don't understand.
It's like they've gone, this film's supposed to come out last year, you've all forgotten about us. And it's just like, no one forgot about you. You know, because how can anyone...
You literally don't have to like release anything. Like, we just don't want to... We want to make sure everyone understands the plot of the film. Like, no one's watching it for the plot of the film.
They just seem to get it all wrong, though, because, again...
Silly film, like...
If it's something like a Marvel film, Marvel would just reveal the first 10 minutes, and everyone would go, oh, that's the bit in the film, and you're like, when you watch the film, you go, no, this isn't the first 10 minutes, I thought this was going to be, like, at the end, where they've basically revealed everything about this film.
I was watching it when we first got on this together and getting prepped, and it just kept going on. I was like, Jesus, like, how long is this going to go on for? Like, it just kept going and going, and there was like natural bits where you could have clipped it off, and I don't know. I mean, we've talked about trailers like so many times, like just trailer making, trailer decisions. Like we love watching trailers, but I think it's just baffling decisions.
I think maybe it's just a different audience. Maybe their audience is just like, we don't care. They're just like, we don't care. We know what we're gonna get, and we just want to be like shown what we're gonna get to get us excited. Like, what the hell? And what makes me laugh is in the trailer they're explaining how stupid it's getting. Like, I think Ludacris is going, we've got this, we've got that, we've got a plane, a car that flies now. What's going on? He's like basically going, this is getting stupid, and explaining the film. And then they jump off that cliff, and the plane catches them. And then later on, they're in scuba gear. What the hell? Like, what the?
I mean, it was Thunderbirds.
Like, what the hell is going? They're in scuba gear. Like, and they're just like, this is just another Tuesday to me.
Tacos after this. Yeah, just a bonkers trailer. And like I said, I just don't understand the decision to make it so long. Like, there's a reason trailers are short. Keep it short, keep it snappy, get people interested, show a couple of cool bits, but don't reveal everything. Because it's kind of like it was that one Terminator trailer that you saw where they give away the whole plot of the film. Like,
John Connor is the bad guy. Thanks. What am I going to see? Why would I be asked? They're just so desperate. Some of these, I don't even think they're desperate because they know people will come and see it. I just think they're like, we'll give people what they want, essentially. So,
yeah,
cool.
Another strange trailer this week was the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and again, it's just, I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek.
I haven't seen this, no. the original. I don't know if it's good. I don't think it got much hype. I just think it was like a film. I thought it was just a film. I mean, it's got Ryan Reynolds and it's got Samuel L. Jackson, so it should be good. This one looks like, I think this one almost looks like, so it must have made enough money to make a sequel, because it was probably quite a low budget. This one says to me, we're going bigger and better, and if you haven't seen the original, go and see it now. That's what it feels like. It's like people are going, oh, this is a sequel. Yeah. Okay, and go and watch the original now, because you're going to... And I've seen that before with films where it's almost like the first one did okay, and because it's a low budget, so this one's going to be better because we've got more things to do on this one now. We've got like little things from the first one, because obviously whatever happened in the first one has traumatized them, and he has to, like, you know, that's the funny thing about it, because he's traumatized. I don't know what's funny about that, but you know, he's a little bit traumatized, so he's got to deal with that while still being a bodyguard, and it's like, so it's like, go and watch it, and probably people will be being like, well, we've been starved for stuff, so we might as well go and watch that. It's like the Godzilla film. I hadn't seen King of the Monsters, and then obviously the new one was coming out, and that was hyped up that much. I was like, well, I'm going to have to watch it if I'm going to watch this. So it might have that same feel about it, where people will go, yeah, I'll go and watch that because it's available on Netflix or wherever. It'll be available to watch anywhere now, basically for free, because you've already got the streaming service. So I think that's where it'll probably, the other one will get a bump.
I mean, you've got to imagine, like, the budget for this must have been pretty sizable, to be fair. Like I said, you got Samuel L. Jackson, Ryan Reynolds, Salma Hayek. Then you're trying to go bigger from the last film. And it's just not a thing I've seen people saying, you know, the Hitman's Bodyguard, want to see a sequel to that. I'm ready for that. You know what I mean? It's just not one of those ones I thought would be popular demand for. But again, to get those guys acting in this, studio's got to have some money. Like, yeah,
depends who's paying for it, though. That's it. Depends who's paying for it. Some of these films, I don't know what the budget wouldn't have been much. It's not special effects laden, is it? You know, and these films don't seem to cost that much anymore. So as long as it did a little bit of money and it might have a good back end on a streaming service, then there's no real issue, is there? So fair play.
Best trailer of the week by far, hands down, no competition necessary, is Army of the Dead by Zack Snyder. and this one just looks mad.
Oh, this looks.
Dave Bautista. I love.
What I'm loving about this is that it's Netflix. It's out in May, and I just like the setup. I mean, the only thing is, I know this sounds stupid, but the
it's like, hi, I'm Ped. I've got a question.
The name of it just does give it away a little bit, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's like coming into the trailer. Imagine if they hadn't revealed the name of it, and you're like, it's a bank heist in Vegas. You know, Ocean's 11, but a little bit darker. Batista's getting his team back together. You know, they've seen some bad shit together. They've gone through hell together.
I feel like I'm watching a trailer.
You know, we deserve this one last score. You know, we never got paid what we deserved. We're going to have that one last score that is going to put us over the edge, and we can have great lives. You know, Batista's like a chef or whatever in a diner, and it's like, we got that one last score. And the guy's convincing them, going, you go into the vault, and there's going to be 250 million here, blah, blah, blah. It's all good.
In and out.
Yeah, like, you guys, use a top-class mercenaries. You'll have no problem. And, like, but you already know the film's called Army of the Dead, so you're like, I don't know what's coming here, mate. I know what's coming. So when the trailer's building up, and it's like, you get to Vegas, and it's like, oh, it's Vegas. Oh, you know, it's Vegas, big money. And then they look over, and you see all the zombies. You're like, yeah, well, I knew there was going to be zombies. Like, I suppose it's like, why are these zombies?
Surprise!
I suppose the thing is, why are there zombies? And why are they simply confined to Vegas? What's happened in Vegas? I suppose that can be the little mystery behind it. And
well, I was going to say, do you want to hear the twist?
Netflix
has invested into a prequel film and apparently an anime spin-off of this as well. So they are trying to, like, this isn't just like a one-time thing. They've already decided, like, based on the vision that Zack Snyder's presented, they're like, no, we actually want to do more with this. We want to build it out because we know there's something here to, like, it's platform content, isn't it?
They were like, we better do 3 of these, otherwise people will moan later on that we didn't have a proper cut.
Well, that was I guess Zack Snyder giving an interview with someone, and he was just like, there is no other cut. Like, this is it. I was given like full access. He was like, he said, so I can't even remember like what comment he gave, but he was basically like, this isn't the pandered version. This isn't the bastardized version. This is my full cut. And I was just like,
fair enough.
Throwing some shade at HBO.
It does look good. It looks really good for a Netflix film. It looks really good. It looks stupid, and I like to take that the zombies are intelligent. You know, they're like the zombies that are in I Am Legend. They've got skills. They've got leadership. They're not they're not stupid. There's a they're obviously a society. There's a hierarchy. I like that. The fact that, because if they weren't,
it feels like you said, there's a story there,
and it feels like, because if there wasn't, then it would just be literally shooting fish in a barrel, wouldn't it? And that, like, the Walking Dead thing of like, well, all these zombies are just going to kill. The fact that they're intelligent adds that little bit of a layer to it, and it will literally be like Last Man Standing. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, Batista's the only face in it, isn't he? Everyone else is generic person. And they're all just going to get killed, let's be honest, and it'll be like, and it might almost be like that thing of like, the bad guys sent them in because almost like their team A. Do you know what I mean? And there's another team, his team, like he's paying them to go in and get it, but they're just they're the sheep.
Cannon fodder.
Yeah, they're to go in and clear the path for the real team to come in behind. His elite mercenaries to come in and clear it up. They're going to do the hard work. I think there'll be something like that in it. I think it'll be one of them where that guy gets his comeuppance in the end, you know what I mean? Where it's like, and nobody gets the money or whatever, I don't know. But it looks really good. I like that.
I was going to say, and the tiger from Hangover makes a cameo?
Yeah, the tiger. Well, the tigers. Well, it's more like it's like Dingo's tiger, isn't it? Sigmund and Roy. It's like their tiger, isn't it? It's like the white tiger. Yeah, it's like the white tiger in Vegas. That's always been a thing. So that's quite interesting as well. The fact that the animals can be zombified, which is good. Because someone was telling me last week that there was a tiger in Walking Dead and it got took out by 3 zombies, and I was like, I'm glad to give up on that show. I would never have wanted to have seen that. So, but it's good. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's. It sounds. I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out what happened. Like, where was it? Like a plague or something? David Gibson says, "I am legend that vampires, not zombies." They were zombie vampires. They were zombie. Come on. They weren't like vampire. They were intelligent. They had a hierarchy, and they might have been. They were zombie vampires. Stop being. Yeah.
Or were they vampire zombies?
Yeah, I don't know. They were a bit of both, weren't they? Let's be honest. I wasn't saying they were the same creature, for God's sake. I'm just saying there was a hierarchy amongst the mist. They weren't like classic vampires, were they? They didn't strut in a tuxedo going, "I want to bite your neck." You know, they were. I think you're splitting hairs there. No, it does. It looks good. It looks good. I will look forward to watching it.
Last bit of news from the week. Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Mads Mikkelsen have both been cast in Indiana Jones 5, directed by James Mangold, who obviously did Wolverine.
And he did he did the Wolverine and he did Logan. But the Wolverine's a good film. It doesn't quite get the justice it deserves, but it is a good film. It's got some absolutely brilliant like comic book panels on the screen. There's one when he's on his motorbike driving in like the snow going to a village, and it just looks so good. And I think the only not let that film down was it was not an R-rated film. If it'd been an R-rated film, it would have been absolutely amazing. It would have just had that little bit extra that would have put over the edge. But it's solid. I mean, it's a lot better than Wolverine Origins, which is just absolute garbage. But it's a good film because it's a standalone Wolverine film. It was the first one. It didn't need too many. It didn't need any other X-Men apart from in the after credits, which didn't really make any sense. But you know, it was definitely like wedged in there afterwards to get Days of Future Past going. And obviously Logan's amazing. And you can tell that he's like took all that relationship that he learned with the Wolverine and put it into Logan and just went two barrels. But
I was gonna say, I always love the fact that they just let him say, like, okay, this is the last Wolverine film. Like, we're just gonna do it. Like, go full barrel for it.
Yeah,
like, you're
and
able to do what you want.
And it's brilliant because Logan's amazing because there's no clear continuity, but that's a good thing. I mean, I know the X-Men films don't have a clear continuity anyway; it's just an absolute mess. But because this one's set in the future, and obviously it's got Professor X in it, which is amazing. Because it's got that continuity for that relationship, which is really important. But it's because you don't really hear of the other ones, and you just see the comics and you hear of the incident that happened, and it's alleged that Professor X killed basically all the X-Men because he couldn't control his, the disease he's got. It's fantastic. I actually watched it a couple of days ago. I love it. It's just so good, and it's so. It's so sad that they never got to make an X-23 film with her in it because she's amazing.
And X-23 is such a fantastic character in the comics as well. Like some fantastic series from her as well. So that's like one thing I've been kind of banging the drum about. I would love to see Marvel kind of attempt to bring in an X-23. Whether they bring out... You know what? Like, funnily enough, I did see a rumor this week that they're eyeing up a possible Wolverine Disney Plus series.
Well,
it wasn't confirmed anywhere. I saw someone share it based on someone shared something.
I mean, I like that idea because obviously there's so many characters with that you could do loads of series. My only issue is, and I know this is going to be the case anyway, the only issue is we're going to lose the edge of not being able to have that R-rated film. We've got Deadpool, but obviously he's not going to be in the same continuity as such. He's going to swing in and out. But we're not going to have X-Men as allowed to do R-rated, and that's the only fallout. But I suppose for Disney that was never going to happen anyway. So
this makes a good segue, and we're going way off topic.
Are we going to talk about Indiana Jones?
But this is actually something I was wanting to talk about this week anyway. Based off the last episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, have you not felt like and this is not a criticism by any means. It's just kind of an observation more than anything. But this season or this series in particular has been a lot more directed at an adult audience.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot more cursing in it.
Ooh, you big cursor.
I know. It's kind of like so.
No, there are the action. I mean, the action is it's as far as you can take it. Definitely, the swearing.
But that's what I mean. Are they testing the barriers?
I don't think so, because I think they are. But what I would say is that basically all these shows have to be put in front of people, and it's a weird thing. It's like that show could be that you're allowed so many swear words of a certain category. Like, you can't start saying I think you're allowed like a couple of swear words basically to keep it as a PG-13, and the blood as well.
Is that a TV versus streaming thing? Oh
no, yeah. It's a universal thing, I think. So, you would basically, I think someone made a really good point on one of the videos I was watching this week. It's like, so the shield at the end, without giving anything away, well, I mean, the shield at the end probably would have been made with just a clear shield, and they would have added the blood on the shield by as much as they could get away with for the rating, essentially. So there's just like little things like that. So post-production would have added, so they will have gone in and they will have added the cuts, and they would have presented a cut and seen how far they could get away with it, and then probably would have had another cut ready to just tone it down. And that's all it is, really. It's just little things. I think you can't have so like when at the end the guy, when he had blood on his fingers, you can have that, but you couldn't show the wound that was caused. Do you know what I mean? You can imply.
Yeah.
You can imply. So it's the same. So you can cut Thanos' head off, but you can't cut a human's head off. Or you can cut a human's head off, but you can only show the blade and then the cut of maybe like something rolling on the floor, like the shadow. So I was going to say, do those ratings still apply to streaming? Yeah, of 100%.
It's not just like a TV.
No, 100%. No, the ratings cover everything.
I always thought that was some of the reasons some of these shows wanted to be on a Netflix, or like wanted to be on like a an HBO, because once it's paid, you don't have to worry about the censorship so much.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But Disney Plus will have a code of conduct within itself that
an internal one.
Yeah, that the shows would have to be in that guidance, and they will probably have someone watch that. And I imagine. See, what's funny about Disney Plus is though,
Just imagine some lawyer going, "No, too much. You've got to take it down 2 inches, and then we're okay." That's just plenty of blood.
See, Disney Plus has its own internal thing, its own internal ratings, where obviously you can turn. See, we've got it over here now. Obviously, with the Star, we can have 18, obviously, which is open. So I get to see everything, but then you can change that, so it's like 16 or 14, whatever it is, and then you have to start putting a code, put a code in. But obviously that will be the term. So they're going to make shows that obviously have to come down to that rating because they want everyone to watch them. So I think it'd be a hard PG-13, but they will know the limits themselves. You are right. They have to have it internally, but
I just wonder if they're starting to kind of test some of their boundaries around this stuff, knowing that they want to expand out and go into other properties. I mean, we know Multiverse of Madness. They were talking originally about doing like Marvel's first horror. Like, I'm wondering like how they can push that. But like, going off into other topics, like you're gonna have eventually like a Ghost Rider. You're gonna eventually have a Punisher. And I honestly do think the way the US is moving, as far as the Disney Plus product at least, is that eventually they will combine Hulu and Disney Plus.
No, they will.
I think Europe and any other country that's had it is basically like a beta testing ground.
With a test because we are just a lot more like open than America is. America's just ridiculous. It's the it's the maddest country.
Disney's watching you through the screen.
It's the maddest country. It's the maddest country in the world. You can't swear on TV, but people can carry guns in the streets. It's just the maddest country in the world.
Twice.
No, I think they'll push it. They'll have a hard PG-13, and what a PG-13 basically says is it's at the parents' discretion. So you can, it's what you'll sit down watching it and you'll be like, shall I let my child watch this? I know there's a couple of swear words in, and it might be something graphic violence, but it could have little things, and that's up to you. You're not going to let you put it this way, right? Would you let a 6, 7, 8-year-old watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier anyway? Would you have ever let like a 6, 7-year-old watch Winter Soldier? I wouldn't have. I think that's that's got some ridiculous violence in it, like for a child.
Yeah.
And even the concept.
Well, I mean, I was going to say you basically see him getting electrocuted and tortured and brainwashed.
You see Sitwell get dragged out of a car and thrown in front of a lorry. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but also the themes of the film are quite grown up as well. It's that idea of like, would a child even understand the concepts of these films? Because when people say like Disney films are kids films, Marvel films, I'm just like, they're just not though, are they? Because they're for me they're like a teenagers upwards. Because some of the things they talk about in the films are not for kids. I mean, some of the cartoony action at times is. But some of the things they talk about, like in Winter Soldier, and some of the things they talk about in like what Tony Stark's conversations about, geopolitical uses of weapons and dealing under the table and all this kind of thing. Then that's not for kids, I was
going to say, it literally gets kidnapped by terrorists.
Exactly, he gets kidnapped by terrorists, and
I was going to say, in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Yondu mass murders an entire ship of his own crew.
But he does it to a theme song, so it's okay.
It to music.
Yeah, it's okay. No, I do think I don't think they could ever go like you could never go. Logan's a kids' film.
Bless you. But I mean that's all I was wondering if they're trying to see like what groundwork they can lay now to say, okay, if everyone's okay with it, we didn't get a lot of pushback. Maybe we can start to develop characters and series within that kind of framework.
I think something like Wolverine, what you could do is you could have. I think what they did in the original one was like he'd put like the spikes through someone's chest and then push them, and you'd never see any blood come out. So what you could do is you could have it like where in the film, the Vegas scene where he's putting them through people's skulls in slow motion and all that kind of thing. Well, you wouldn't have that as such. You'd have it like him going to hit him in the head, and then maybe the camera would pull away slightly or go on him, and then him pulling them out, and you just see the guy fall and that kind of thing. So it does show that he did put it in the head, but you never saw that. So maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You kids, the way they've always marketed it is you want everyone to be able to see all these films. So if a kid starts, he doesn't miss out on anything. But then that's where, again, like I said, it's where you would start a kid to watch these films. I don't know. I've not got kids. I don't know where you'd be comfortable going. Or even, not even that though, you'd be comfortable sitting down and saying, I can happily sit here with my child and they're going to understand this film and not get bored, because there's moments where, the conversation is about something that isn't just about Rocket Raccoon and stuff like that. So, and they deal especially in the Marvel universe, they do deal with a lot of loss as well. So, I don't know.
I was to say what again, just based on the fact that this is rumor, but what do you make of a decision like this to like put a Wolverine character in a series versus a movie? Do you think it would work better? Do you think it gets more length?
I actually think it would be what that would be good for. Is to almost be like a prequel for it, David Gibson's actually said, do you think they will totally recast the X-Men, or do you think some will come from the Fox universe? I think they'll completely recast, and one of the reasons I think they'll recast is the age of them. Like, I don't think that any of the new ones were that good. I think they were pretty bad, to be honest. I think the only one would be Quicksilver, but they've got a Quicksilver, ironically enough, and we've seen that Quicksilver in WandaVision, so they can't have the two. Wouldn't really do that. But I think most of them have aged out now. Hugh Jackman's never going to play Wolverine again, simply because he said himself he couldn't be arsed getting himself in that condition to play him again. He was looking a bit ragged in the last one, let's be honest. Not in like a bad way, but you know what I mean. He's getting on a bit now. If you're bringing them in, you want them in there for 10 years, don't you? Really, you don't want them to be.
I was going to say the only way I can see an Fox X-Men coming back is if at some point they try and do a Secret Wars and they kind of cross. Into the multiverse.
I just can't see it, because I just think
by the more of a cameo, you know. I know, but Fassbender, McAvoy,
my problem with that is that by the time that happens, they're all going to be quite old, and how are you?
McAvoy might actually be bored by then.
yeah, and you know, I just think it's better to have a clean slate, and
absolutely, yeah.
It doesn't confuse the audience. Then it keeps it.
It distances as well.
And
you don't confuse the two.
No. So what I would do is definitely for something like Wolverine is, I think Wolverine, because he's older than everybody else by a lot, I think it would be brilliant if you got Wolverine, like first episode, James Logan as a kid. Like there was actually a good little bit of Wolverine Origins where you got to see him going through like his younger life,
like the ages,
and then like World War II, and they always said, didn't they wanted to actually have Wolverine in Captain America as like a little cameo. But they just couldn't get obviously work that out. And I think it would be brilliant if you had like say the New Mutants or whatever they were not the New Mutants but whatever they were called, the film, the Mutants or whatever. And you had that film coming out, and maybe before that, you had Wolverine's origin, but like because it does go so far back, and because he is such a big character, and he has become such a big character now, he's their standout star, basically, isn't he, for the X-Men? You know, only this week we got Adidas Predator Wolverine boots. You know what I mean? He's the standout star of the films now, and he's been pushed front and center in the comics and everything. And it's been like that since I've been watching. I was watching the cartoons in like the early 90s. Wolverine was the standout in that, and obviously he's had his own podcast show and stuff like that, which has been absolutely brilliant. And he's the only one who's had his own individual films as well. So he's a big star. So if you had that prequel that charted his life, almost coming up to where he meets the rest of them, because that was one of the big things, of course, of the original X-Men. It was Wolverine met them all, and then it was like, who is this character? And then in the second one, we got an idea of his past, and in all the films, we always got a little glimpse of something in his past. So in Days of Future Past, you've got obviously his past and what he was doing, and the fact that they caught him in which one was it? One of the newer ones, wasn't it? Was it what was the one after Days of Future Past? The one with the big blue guy, Apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
So Apocalypse he got released, didn't he? He was in the Weapon X project, and he got released, and he had the big thing on his head and everything from the comics, and he got released and he got free. And that was supposed to be like after he'd been put the adamantium into him, and that was supposed to be when he runs away, and how he lost his memory and how he goes on to become the X-Men. So all the way through, even in First Class, they go to a bar and they ask him, and he just tells them where to go. And then when they meet him in Days of Future Past, they actually say, "We've met before," you know. And it's so all the time they've been trying to just drop all these little bits in about his past. And I think if you just had this like 8-part show or 6-part show charting how he went into, I don't know, the First World War, the Second World War, and all these different things, that it would be brilliant to just give you to catch up with the film.
I could almost imagine. I mean, you mentioned the podcast there of Wolverine. I could imagine them doing something quite self-contained, but then somehow it it spins into another Marvel character at some point. You know what I mean? Almost like retconning whatever happened in this story then underpins another story. So you start to kind of work in like, okay, he was there, but he was in the background. Like it's it's Wolverine. He kind of tends to keep to himself. He's not one of those ones. It's like, I'm a hero, yay!
But you could have it. He could have a cameo of him just standing back when Captain America walks through the gates with a cigar in his mouth, just like
you can
clapping.
Still rack on that.
Just like clapping. Yeah. Just some guy in the background that kept himself to himself.
Hey, bub.
Yeah, he just fought, but whatever. You could easily do that. David Gibson says, who would you cast as the new Wolverine? He thinks Tom Hardy would be a good Wolverine.
I don't want to. That's a tough decision because it's hard because no matter again, you and I both listened to the podcast. That podcast was amazing. I think that was with Richard Armitage. I think doing the voice of Wolverine. So I'm not completely set that Wolverine is not replaceable. Like as far as Hugh Jackman, I know everyone's like Hugh Jackman's the Wolverine. I can't imagine anyone else. I can. I mean, I grew up with the cartoon with a completely different guy voicing him. Richard Armitage did it on the podcast. Like, I'm all for another version of Wolverine. Who you have, though, that's a tough choice.
Zac Efron. Zac Efron, honestly, I think he's brilliant. I think he's perfect for it. I think he's the right height. I think he's got the right physique. I think he'd be brilliant. Hennessy 95 says, who was better fit for the role? Hugh Jackman for Wolverine or Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man? I think Downey Jr. for Iron Man was a better fit because actually Hugh Jackman's not a very good fit for a proper Wolverine, but he made it his own. The original Wolverine should have been Bob Hoskins. No, literally it should have been. That's what he wanted. Originally he wanted Bob Hoskins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Bob Hoskins actually is what Wolverine is like. He's short and he's built and he's a blocky fella. Whereas Robert Downey Jr. absolutely encapsulates the original what Iron Man was, an alcoholic, obsessive alcoholic.
It's set the character forward now for the comics, even like everything that Downey Jr.'s done.
Yeah,
good old RDJ.
Go on. What were you going to say about the casting of Wolverine?
I've completely lost my train of thought.
There you go.
To be honest with you, but I think it's just a difficult decision to do. So I don't envy it because no matter who they choose, it's going to get pushed back. But
I don't think it will because the Hugh Jackman's gone. You've got who to pick. Hugh Jackman was not the first pick, by the way. The original pick was Scottish actor from Mission Impossible 2. And I'm trying to.
I know what you mean. The bad guy in that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the original. He did
have like Wolverine hair in that film. Actually, come to think of it.
Douglas Scott. So he was picked to be the original Wolverine, and he got. I think he broke his arm, or there was some kind of thing happened anyway, and Hugh Jackman was an absolute no one. He was a dancer. He was a singer and dancer. The Greatest Showman is actually his perfect role because that's what he did. He was a dancer. He did theatre and he basically just got asked to come in because he could do it straight away. He went in, he auditioned, he had the perfect body for it, and they were like, give it to him. Hugh Jackman was an absolute no one before he got Wolverine, and he made it his own. Fair play to him. But even he was first choice or second choice, so he made his own. Whereas Robert Downey Jr. was like, Iron Man was made for him, like literally. So that's what Jon Favreau said when he was like taking on. He was like, I want Downey Jr. and that's the end of it because he's been through all the same kind of struggles and I'm writing it for him. So there you go. Let's get back to what we were talking about, which was Indiana Jones 5. So I mean, at least it's going ahead. They're filling the cast. They're bulking it up. So hopefully it's going to be a good film.
No, absolutely nothing about it. But
nothing.
Harrison Ford's on, Mads Mikkelsen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I mean, so far the casting's lining up to be pretty decent. So, and hey, you can't get any worse than Crystal Skull. No,
it's a bad film. It's a bad film. It's a bad film because it wasn't made when we were kids. Everything's better when you're a kid because you absorb it. But when you watch films when you're older, You just look at them and go, it's not this. They're not the same. They're not the same.
I was gonna say, and that's the problem. They basically tried to make an '80s film, but it wasn't the '80s.
No.
And you're like, they were good for a reason, but there's got to be some sort of better evolution there.
And I'll always say this, and films that are made, sequels that is, that are made, the originals are made in like Africa and Asia and Europe. When they bring them to America, they're always worse. They're always worse. Honestly, they are though. They're always, because there's some kind of, there's like a familiarity about them. It happened with, like, I love the Bourne films. Everyone knows I love the Bourne films. But the last Bourne film suffered because it went to Vegas. So there's a familiarity about it. Whereas when they're in Prague, or when they're in Paris, or when they're in Munich or London, there's an edginess about them. There's an unfamiliar side of this world that we.
It looks new. You're kind of drawn into it.
So the Indiana Jones films, the original ones, were all obviously they were based in. I mean, the original one is the Raiders is it's in Egypt, and then you've got Temple of Doom, which is India. Then you've got Last Crusade, which is in Europe, and the Nazis, and then goes to Jordan. And this one, because a lot of it's set where you get that's in Vegas. Oddly enough, it's in Nevada, isn't it? Before there was Vegas, you get the test sites, and then you get like the university set up, and then it ends up going down to Mexico. And apart from, like, the Mexican bit, obviously that's different, but when they make films and they don't have that mystique about them when they're set in America, when they've already been somewhere else, you lose something. I always think in that it's too safe, it's too, so I think that didn't work. So it's going to be interesting to see where this one is actually set, the time it's set, because most of these films, what I would say is Indiana Jones films are basically time accurate to the original. So any time passed is generally about the same amount of time, because obviously Harrison Ford and his age. So this one would be set what? When was Crystal Skull? 10 years? 10 years ago?
Sounds right, but I'm going to have to Google it.
So that was set...
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
So that was set about what? 55, 56, something like that. So this one will be set mid-60s to mid to late 60s, I would imagine. So I don't know what they're going to cross that with. Maybe space. Maybe I don't know, but maybe
everyone's going to space.
Maybe it might have something to do with the space race. So you've got the Cold War as well, obviously, which was in the last one. But no.
So it was 2008, and it was set in 1957.
There you go. So this one would actually be the early 70s, wouldn't it? So if they're doing a time accurate, like, because obviously we moved with Harrison Ford, we'll have to wait and see.
Should be interesting. One quick thing that we didn't talk about, a show I absolutely bloody love got renewed this week.
Go on.
And it was originally on Cinemax, a show called Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually written by Bruce Lee. It was actually, do you remember the show Kung Fu from back in the day? Yeah. And how it was whitewashed? That was all like originally written by... Yeah, it was written. It was a screenplay done by Bruce Lee, and they basically said, "Oh, no one wants to watch Asians on TV," so they stole his screenplay and readapted it. Yeah. So Warrior was what it was supposed to be like, and it started. The first 2 seasons were on Cinemax in the US. They've just renewed it, and they're going to put it straight on HBO Max now, since they're kind of, combining all of their content now, and I think they're basically trying to get rid of all the other little side things and just put it on the...
Brilliant.
And it makes sense.
That's good.
A business sense.
It's already got an audience.
The show is amazing. Yeah. Like, the fight scenes, I think some of the fight choreography, like some of those stunt coordinators have gone on to do, like John Wick, some of those other movies and things like that. So a lot of people have made like big names for themselves, but the show itself is fantastic. You've got like crooked Irish cops set in San Francisco in the late 1800s. You've got like warring Chinese gangs. Oh, it's fantastic. So good. So highly recommend going to watch Warrior.
Excellent.
There's season 3 coming.
And the other bit of news as well is, you said there was a bit of casting news before for The Last of Us.
Oh yes, yeah. Gabrielle Luna has been cast as
Tommy. So if you play The Last of Us,
I knew that.
Well, it was funny before because you were like, I was like, is he playing David? And you were like, no. I mean, is he playing Tommy? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And you're like, I don't know what that is. So that's Joel's brother, essentially. That's Joel's brother, which is who has got a. He's not massively in the game in the first one, but in the second one he's massively in it. Like he's in it a lot in the second one, but he's Joel's brother and yeah, that's good. That's good casting because him and Pedro Pascal are just like heavyweights now, and everyone loves them. And
well, I was gonna say, so is his brother like? Is he featured in like the main storyline, or is it like flashbacks? To the before 4.
No, because there aren't flashbacks in the.
Okay.
It's just that in the show they get separated. In the game they just get separated basically because the world. The world's just an absolute mess, and they just get separated. So it's just a case of like, they don't find each other till a little bit later on. He thinks he knows where he is, and they sort of head that way on their journey because it is essentially a journey, and they know that's like a place they can go to get shelter and food, and it's on the way, and then when in the second game, which obviously follows on from the first one, so it's part 2 essentially. It's not, it's it's one big story. It's Last of Us Part 1, Part 2. It becomes more in it because there's more. They have settled all in like a town essentially, without giving anything away. I'm not really giving anything away there, but they settled in a town, so. He's in it a bit more because they're back. They are back together. It's just that the journey is Joel and Ellie in the first game, and it is about getting to Tommy. So I don't know whether they're gonna do like show him living in this place and worrying, or just having his own little side story or whatever. Or even at the beginning, because the beginning he is with them when the outbreak first happens at the beginning, and how traumatic that is, and how they split up. I imagine that'll be maybe a part of it, or that might even be shown. That might be shown in flashbacks. I'm not sure, but the fact that they've got 2 heavyweights to play those roles is fantastic. It shows that they're taking the show really.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the show because I know you talk so highly of it, and I don't get to see the scene with the giraffe.
Yeah, they've got it's unbelievable.
I've got to see the giraffe scene.
To be honest, the scenes in the second game, which they're not quite as good as the giraffe, just because the giraffe is the original one, but the scenes in the second one that are just so touching, little moments that are just brilliant, are just so good. I know it because there's this scene where they go to this like museum, and Ellie's like, what's that all, whatever, and he's like, Joel's like, yeah, that was in a movie, that went, and he's talking about Jurassic Park, but obviously he can't name them. He's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, the first one was really, really good. He's like, the second one wasn't that good, but
yeah,
he's like, the second one wasn't that good, and he's like, that one was in the film, and it did this and it did that, and it's just brilliant because she's got no idea, because at that stage she hasn't seen anything, and she's like, in the second game they do get like a semblance of real life, and there's like DVD players and DVDs and stuff, so I think she starts to get to see films, but at this point she hasn't. Like it's so good. I can't wait to see it visualized on the screen, and I can't wait to see people get to see what we've already played, and by the cast they're building, it sounds like they're just doing it the right way, because like I've said to you, the game is so good, the story is so good. It is like playing a film essentially. It deserves, like, put it this way, like it always has been a hard thing replicating a game onto a film, because you play a game and you experience it in a different way. But because this is such a high quality, and because every scene is acted out, it's gonna makes that bar even higher, I think. So they're gonna have to, but it's good that they're doing it in TV form, because it gives them a lot more room to breathe. So So I'm really looking forward to that.
I was just saying that, and they've got the creators of the game on board as well.
Yeah.
They're doing it the right way. They're approaching this absolutely the right way.
There's only one way you can do this. I'm
excited for it. It's definitely exactly, and it's HBO is a great place. Like they do such good original content with their shows. I mean, they're just a laundry list of shows that people just absolutely adore. So,
and ultimately, it's about a father-son relationship and protecting, and that kind of thing. And it is all about different factions of humans, and the zombies come into it, obviously. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how they do it. So, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about our final thing then. Let's talk about the Falcon and Winter Soldier, an absolutely amazing episode. If you've not watched last week's episodes, then leave us now until you have. But obviously, we got straight into what happened last week. We got a scene straight away taking us back to Wakanda, which was just amazing. As soon as you heard the music, it was just like you were back in Wakanda. And we're back in Wakanda. And obviously, Ayo basically saying to Bucky, basically trying to proving that the deprogramming had happened. And, he was getting worried that it was going to get kicked in. It was going to kick in, and then obviously all the relief that he had been deprogrammed hit home, and that showed you essentially what he owed Wakanda and Sherry and Ayo and everything, and then to have Ayo stand in front of him,
the connection they've established as well.
He wasn't just like living in a hut. He's obviously, it was a process, and it was a really big process getting him deprogrammed, giving him his life back. And then for her to be standing in front of him, basically saying to him, you've not only let us down, but you've betrayed us. He killed the king. And what was great about that scene, it wasn't he killed the king. It was like, you don't understand the shame we feel that he killed the king. We are the king's bodyguards. We are the best. And he killed them. And that means we are stained with that forever. That's a shame. And I thought that was brilliant. And then her just saying, you've got 8 hours. But it was brilliant that he spoke to her in Wakandan as well.
Yeah. No, I love the relationship because, throughout the series, you've seen how Bucky addresses other people and how he talks to other people. There's a certain level of respect there that he has with Sam. But, it's, they're buddies, so they kind of make fun of each other. But it's a completely different Bucky when he addresses Ayo, because again of that, history that she was the one that helped deprogram him. She set him free, and you can see that. When he addresses her, he talks to her, he shows her the respect that she deserves, and then she's basically scolding him and telling him do you realize what you've done, kind of thing, against the nation of Wakanda. You were part of our culture, we brought you in, kind of thing. So you bear this shame too, kind of thing. So that's kind of how I took it. Ayo was looking at Bucky that he was a part of the Wakandan nation for while he was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a really powerful moment as well. So and then obviously Bucky's basically he's a means to an end. It's a tool. We just need him because there's other bad shit going on in the world as well. So, but obviously with Zemo, he's always 5 steps ahead. Doesn't take him long.
No, well,
we got constantly manipulating the situation.
Well, yeah, we got back obviously to the apartment, and they are starting to lose their temper with Zemo now, and that obviously shown. Zemo knows that he's not got that much time left. He knows he knows he's got. He's like a cornered rat now, isn't he? And he's gonna act in his own for himself, but he knows that he has to work in a certain way as well, and also manipulate people.
He has to navigate the maze.
But he does. But he also has to manipulate people as well into opening up what's going to happen, and he's playing people without them people knowing, and he's so clever the way he's doing something. And obviously they went to
Well, because they talk about like during that moment, right? The like supremacists, you know what I mean, and like comparing like again like these super soldiers like Carly and things like that, and the Red Skull, and it's just like it's never enough.
Well,
People who seek power shouldn't have power.
Well, what he said was essentially, he said anyone who's seeking to be a super soldier, it essentially feels like they're more important than anyone else. So they want to be more important. So they feel it, and that's like what he's saying as being a supremacist. But obviously they went and found out the information about the funeral, and he, the Turkish delight. It tastes like shite. Real Turkish delight's horrible. It's disgusting.
Never been a fan of Turkish.
Oh, it's disgusting. But is that proper Turkish delight, or is that like the chocolate stuff we get in England?
I imagine it's the proper Turkish delight.
Okay, have you?
I'm guessing.
Well, no, the proper Turkish delight is not like the Turkish delight we get in this country with the chocolate. It's worse. It's a lot worse. It's horrible. But anyway, he conned that kid, and the kid told him. He told her anyway, and little things like when he said, "Don't tell the bad guys" and all that kind of thing. And obviously, no one wanted to talk to him. They knew who Sam was. But it was just as interesting. And then obviously we got John Walker came into it, and he's obviously he was just like, let me into your gang. We're taking him back, and it's like, yeah, but he's useful. All right, well, we're taking him back later. We're gonna go and find Carly, and it was like, it was that whole thing of like, we're gonna go and find her, and okay, he can do his thing now, and obviously Sam went, and he chained Zemo up and stuff, and Sam was obviously getting through to Carly by talking to her as like, because he had been a counselor and stuff, trying to find out what she's doing it for. And obviously she said, we're being left with nothing.
Yeah.
We're being left. And this is what we were talking about last week with this subplot that's being clearly cut out. And I watched a couple of videos on that this week. And New Rockstars have got one out, and there's another one which is really good as well that I watched. And it's really clear when you watch some of these things, some of these scenes, and how they've been recut, and how they've been voiced. There's voiceovers all the way through it, but not just off-screen voiceovers, like voiceovers where people's voices have been, what they've said has been dubbed, and like almost like their lips have been slightly blurred. Like there's a slight, like just something covering their lips, so you can't see what they're saying. So that obviously that other plot was something to do with, basically the way it sounds is, the reason they stole the super soldier stuff was not for them to be strong to beat people up, but it was to be strong so they could lift and carry all this equipment. So they were essentially they were more effective, like thieves, and more effective of getting what they needed. There's been some kind of pandemic that's been sweeping across maybe the poor areas, and some that comes down to the fact that if you introduce half the world back into the other half of the world in one go, disease is going to spread really quickly. Like, if you let everybody out, like now with the pandemic, people are going to get sick really quickly because people haven't been getting sick. And the minute you introduce people back together, viruses are going to be able to spread really quickly. So,
I was going to say, not to mention, like, there's a part where Carly's talking about during the funeral, where like once there was borders, there were no borders. Like, and she was talking about like me and you may never have been friends, but like all of a sudden we're alone, and we get brought together. And there was just some really interesting elements during that scene I found, where she's talking about growing up without her family. She was like, I didn't know my family because they just disappeared. Like, I was too young. You were my family for the last 5 years. I've grown up those formative years of their lives, and just some kind of interesting elements. But like I said, you've already got people all over the world in different places now because they're just looking for a community, right? You can't just have these people like one person in a village. The entire village has been dusted. People congregate together. So then when all those people come back, like you said, then you've got this like cluster of people just grouped together. So naturally, that's never a good situation, regardless of what happens. So, like you said, that does play into the whole pandemic hidden storyline, which was supposed to be here.
Yeah, and obviously it's just that interesting. It's just a shame that it's the show's had to have something cut out of it, which may have given us a little bit more direction on what they are all about, and it's not mishandled. I just don't think it's quite as good as it could have been, because
it's not the perfect situation.
because they would have had a real reason, and like as we said, they stole vaccines and stuff like that, and so we won't know, and obviously they've cut that out for a reason.
I mean, I think how they've pivoted has been pretty decent, though. Like, it's just more for the protection of the misplaced.
Yeah,
like it still makes a decent pivot.
It's just a little bit unclear. That's all. It's a little bit too big. Like, the vaccine thing would have brought it right down to one simple thing, which is they need these vaccines because they're probably not getting these vaccines because they're seen as refugees and everyone else's, and it gives you a reason it gives them a reason to hate, and it gives you a reason to sympathise, whereas I don't know at the moment whether we've quite got that reason to sympathise with them, because all we're seeing is a group of people who stole super serum to make them super soldiers, and all we're seeing them do is fight and steal. But we haven't quite had the reason given to us. All we know is, like, Carly this week did the really good speech, and it was like, they took what was ours and we had this great life. Yeah. I don't think that quite... I'm not saying, listen, I love this show and I'm not having a go of it. I'm just saying that doesn't quite sell it. Whereas I think if it had been the vaccine story, we would have empathised with her a lot more and gone, she has got a really good reason for this. They're treating her like scum. Why haven't those people got... They were here like everybody else till the blip. They've come back. Why does that make them third-class citizens? You know what I mean? So I just think that has taken away. But obviously, Carly has the chat with Sam, then gets spooked. I'm trying to think what the right order of this is. That's when he got this. That's when Zemo started shooting, didn't he?
Yeah. So John Walker bursts in, obviously, because he starts twitching, he's getting impatient. Battlestar's just like, give him time, and he bursts in. Yeah. So obviously Carly's spooked, and they have the whole, chase scene through the building. And Sam's like, place is a maze. And then Zemo catches up to Carly, but no one else does. And that's when you kind of see, again, conversations you and I have had the last couple of episodes, what his main goal of this point was to eradicate the super soldier serum. As Carly kind of spills the vials all over the floor.
Zemo's clear as day. This is what's really interesting about his character. He is the one of the clearest people in the show. He keeps on saying it, and there's almost like this thing, because of the way he says things, that he is after something else, and he's not. He wants to eradicate super soldiers. Now people might say, well, that's so that everyone's on his level and he's cleverer than everyone else, and then maybe that is the fact, but he wants to get rid. And obviously he destroyed all the vials. He shot Carly got away. John Walker comes in, whacks him with the shield, which I'm dead surprised didn't just kill him.
I was going to say that was some hit. It looks like a hit.
I thought that was.
My wife turned to me. She was like, "How did he survive that?"
He's got a metal head. I don't know. And obviously, John Walker finds the last vial and has a good look at it, puts it in his pocket, and then walks away. And then we got the scene within the apartment again, didn't we? Where obviously they're all back there, and they're I always know what, I can never pronounce this. I can pronounce it to myself.
Dora Milaje.
See, I can say it now dead quick. It's when I have to think about it. Dora Milaje. Teeing up. John Walker's like, hey, Captain America. And they're just like, you're a dick.
You can take your point.
Yeah.
When he says pointy
that's
sticks,
the end of it.
I thought that was really good writing, obviously. Yeah. It paints him as such the asshole that he is, like proper patronizing.
I just loved it. It was like, you've got no jurisdiction. He's like, the Doroshalami will have jurisdiction whatever the Doroshalami want to have jurisdiction, paraphrasing there. And it's just amazing. It's just like, and it's like, hang on, who give you jurisdiction, dickhead? You know what I mean? You turned up in your crappy star-spangled uniform. Who give you jurisdiction? You big tit. You big Harry Kane looking tit. Right?
I was going to say, you should ask him, like, you realise where that shield comes from?
Yeah.
Well, that's not actually your property.
Well, obviously we then get a brilliant scene, brilliant fight, and it's just they're just kicking his head in, and it's like Bucky's like looking strong, John. It's just brilliant, and then Sam's like, I think we better get involved here. But it's just the way Zemo just drinks, and it's almost like he's almost like nobody's like. But it's not even that though, and I'm surprised that this hasn't been made more of. But he looks like Grogu with the soup. Because he's like, he's like Kermit, just drinking his drink. I'm surprised more people haven't used that. And then he just walks to the door, and later on, but I just love it later on when they're like, he's got a goddamn El Chapo hole. I just love the fact they brought El Chapo into it. Such an amazing reference. And obviously they're fighting, and then Sam gets involved, and Bucky gets involved, and it's amazing the way they trap him within his shield as well. Like, you know, with the spear.
You knew that was going to turn out badly for John Walker, though. Like,
but
it's the Dora Milaje. They're basically like Spartan.
But he's an idiot, though. He doesn't know. Doesn't know anything about anything. And then obviously we get one fantastic.
Well, that's the thing again with his character. It's just this like white privilege. Like, I'm Captain America. I'm part of the U.S. forces.
Yeah.
Who are you with your pointy sticks? And he just gets absolutely just demolished.
And then we get obviously a fantastic moment when Ayu takes. Well, we get two fantastic moments actually. We get one with Ayu taking Bucky's arm off him with some amazing like kill switch, which was obviously put into him. And it's just his face. It's just his face. It's less like I don't know whether he doesn't know. Like I imagine it's like a kill switch just in case he ever turned bad while he was trying to take. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't have been while he was trying to get because he'd already deprogrammed before they give him that arm.
It's almost like a failsafe.
But
like
yeah, just in case. But it was just like I don't know whether he knew it was in there or he just didn't know it was in there, but didn't think anyone else knew it was in there. But that was amazing. Yeah. And then you got to see like the inner workings of it, which is amazing. You got the Wakanda purple,
like the purpley, like
purple light, and then you got the other member of the Doralami, doing the old shield flip. Cap shield flip, you know, stand on it and it comes up to your arm, and it was just the way she stood there. It was like, yeah, I own this, you don't. I've actually got more right to this than you have. I thought that was a brilliant moment. But Zemo got away, obviously, and that was the last we seen of him, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was the last we seen him.
He slithers down his hole and he's disappeared.
So that was the last we seen of him, and it'd be dead interesting to see what happens there. But it was just at the end. It was just John Walker's the little thing he said was just brilliant. It's just like
they weren't even super soldiers.
Super soldiers. He was so defeated. And I think that was the first moment he was like, I need to get my hands on. Because he said it to Bucky, didn't he, earlier on? It was like, this is so easy for you, isn't it, with all that serum surging through your... I know, obviously, there's so much talk of it as well. Like, Zemo says to Sam, would you take it? And he's like, no. And it's know what it feels like, and this sounds stupid. It's like Willy Wonka. He's like Charlie Bucket. So it's all the temptations there. Zemo's like Willy Wonka almost. He's like testing. He's like going, would you take it? He's like, no. He's like, you sure? He's like, no. And earlier on, you did John Walker talking to Battlestar, and he was like, would you take it? He's like, yeah, of course I'd take it. He's like, yeah, but I've heard it like you know, makes you more of what you are. And he's like, you've got 3 Medal of Honors. You did this, you did that, you did the other. And he's like, yeah, but they were for like the worst day of my life. And he's like, yeah, but you are the guy and all this. And they kept on talking up. The conversation was from me before, and he's like, everyone who gets the super soldier serum it all turns out bad. And he's like, didn't to Steve. He's like, touche. He's like, yeah, but there's never been another Steve Rogers, has there? And it's like, there's a one sitting there called Sam who basically is it's like one flip of he's like the good side of Steve Rogers, and obviously Bucky's like the, I don't know, he's more like the other side of him, isn't he? He is like the super soldier side of him. And it's all these different things are like pointing to Bucky, to like, you are the rightful heir, but you don't need super sim, because actually Steve was the guy. Like, and we heard it with Carly as well. And Carly, when Carly had the conversation in the graveyard when they got the super serum, and the guy she's with is like, and obviously he tells a story about how he loved Captain America, but she's basically saying, well, it's like she could be Captain America because she's got this. She looks like other people. She's fighting for the people, and she's strong. She doesn't need to go through the process that Steve did, and Steve only went through that process because he was a little wimpy kid. But it's with Sam, it's like, well, Sam's strong and he's got the Falcon suit. He embodies who Captain America is. He doesn't need the super serum because that's what it's not about. So everything that pointed in this direction was like, there is going to be a new Cap, and there's only one other person who can take it. And Bucky's done it himself. Bucky's basically said, I can't. I know he said I'd take the shield, but he said I can't be Captain America. So I just thought it was a brilliant episode for just pointing it in that direction. And Zemo was like the Willy Wonka going, you would you have it? And he's like, no. You know, at the end, giving the everlasting gobstopper back to Willy, going, you won. You get nothing, sir. Nothing. Good day.
Get out.
Yeah, get out. So he's like, yeah, it's Bucky. Sam walking over and put a little glass blue thing down on the desk. So
I was good. I was wondering where you were going to go with that. I was like, touche, sir.
Touche, sir. Good day, sir. See, it even sounds like touche. We got a little bit of Sharon Carter as well. Walking around the streets that were with people that looked very, very heavily armed and looked like they were protecting something, and she was...
It looked like she was walking to someone or to a...
Yeah, like she was part of it, but she was like, yeah, the Power Broker's not very happy. Which
ape shit.
Which is really, really interesting. And then obviously we get the scene at the end. We get more... we got Carly ringing Sam's sister, being like, you know, just trying to, you know, get through to Sam, and by threatening him, basically.
Trying to gauge what type of man he is,
yeah.
But also, like, stay away.
Well, Sam basically said, he's like, I think you're doing everything right. I'm with you on this, but I can't be with you the way you're doing it. So she's just trying to see where the ground lays, and so fair enough. And then we get the scene at the end which was brilliant. Obviously, Battlestar gets taken when they go in to the building. Sam and Bucky have just met Carly, and obviously Sharon Carter's got some kind of technology that can track John Walker as well, which is really interesting.
Some sort of satellite or something like that.
But how though? Satellite. Why? How is what she hijacked? Is it something in the shield or something in his tech that she's hijacked, or does that mean that the Power Broker is somebody who's attached to the American Army? I don't know.
I mean, that's the interesting thing that Marvel can really exploit about this whole blip thing, is there is constant backdoors and holes everywhere.
Yeah. So that's...
I mean, like, military stuff would have been sold left, right, and centre.
Well, that was really interesting. And obviously, Battlestar gets taken when he turns up, and that sort of just gives him the nod that he's got that. You know, we never see him take the serum, and quite honestly, I couldn't quite believe. I watched a few YouTube videos and people were oohing and ahhing. I was like, it's clear as day he took it. He bent a metal pipe. Of course he took it. And when he jumped out the window...
Oh, yeah, I didn't think there was any question. The question for me is, kind of when did he take it? Because I wasn't sure, because, early on, like, he kind of gets, you know, pushed around a bit, and he's jittery and stuff like that. And I feel like in that moment, he's just like, all right, now's the time. Is a question.
How does he take it? Do you drink it? Do you inject it? Do you take it orally?
Sniff it.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how I was just interested how they take it, but I don't know.
I imagine it's oral.
back passage.
It's disgusting. Shot.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, he took it, and
I haven't really given that anything.
I have. I've got to get through to these Willy Wonka things somehow.
There with a his belt.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that.
I'll go.
Just like a proper train spotting scene with them going into the carpet. Yeah, and then obviously, so we got him then suddenly discovering his powers, and Sam actually says to him, "What did you do?" Which is a very American kind of thing to say when something bad's happened. What I had to. And then we get the fight, and obviously Carly gives a mega dig to Battlestar, and basically his head bounces off her. Well, the force just looks like it breaks his neck, essentially, doesn't it? And he is dead, essentially, straight away.
Yeah. Powerful scene.
Yeah, it was. It was sad because obviously Battlestar was his Sam, his Bucky, and had been sort of steering him on the right path. Had never been over egging him. Had just been trying to be good to him because he's his mate, Lamar, and to see him.
I was going to say it was almost like his moral soundboard.
Yeah. And it was sad because he didn't actually deserve it. His character had been alright all the way through. He hadn't been a dick, he hadn't been egging him on. And it was just sad to see him go out like that, because that was like the final straw, wasn't it? Ultimately, this is a guy on the edge, and I think he'd been holding them back, and even though he took the serum by the looks of it because he got taken when he got to that building. If he hadn't took it before, and just before,
it's kind of it's. I was gonna say the contrast of the two of them as well. Like Battlestar seemed to have the better moral compass. Like he just seemed to be a better, well-rounded person as opposed to John Walker.
But he didn't have the pressure, though, did he?
Yeah,
he didn't have the.
Yeah, obviously, but you can see that John Walker's internalizing everything, and what's the word I'm looking for? Has these inner demons and insecurities. Where because even then they're at the outside one of the shops, when they're talking about between Battlestar and Captain America, would you take the serum? And one of the girls comes up and asks for his signature, and he signs it, and he's like, "Oh, are you gutted she didn't ask for yours?" And he's like, "Oh, it's her loss. I have this cool little star I do over the top of my name." You can just tell he's just like, "Look, I'm not in this for the fame. I'm in this to do some good." As far as from Battlestar's perspective, but John Walker seems to be getting swept up in the whole movement, where Battlestar just seems to be a lot more grounded. Yeah,
and obviously we got I think it was Nico, wasn't it? I think that was the guy. I think it was who had already said that Captain America had been his hero when he was a kid, and he'd held him back. He'd held him back so he couldn't stop Carly from punching him. So he immediately, he didn't wallow. He wasn't standing there, feeling the pain or the anger building. He went straight after him, jumped out, landed on the van, went straight after him, and smashed him a couple of times with the shield, and then took it to his chest. It looked like they never again. Talking about PG stuff, they kept it all off screen. He hit.
Still
no, it was that's what's great is you can create a scene like that where it's all in your imagination. You don't have to see it, and obviously when it had, there was a couple of scenes, wasn't there? There was a scene where John and Lamar burst in, and he had the shield and the gun, and that was very, very first Avenger. With the Harlan Commandos, and then there was this scene which was a callback to Civil War when Steve smashes Tony's arc reactor in his chest. It was the same kind of thing to stop the power in his suit, and obviously we didn't see it. All we've seen is he did it 3 times. We've seen the anger on his face, and then we've seen the handful of blood, and then as he stood up we've seen the shield covered in blood, and the episode was the world's watching, and everyone was watching using camera phones, and to be fair, he didn't look very remorseful. So It's going to be.
I was going to say just that camera angle as well, like of him standing there, like very upwards, Captain America pose,
shot upwards as well, to see him in his. And it's going to be, and obviously it's going to be really interesting this week. We see, I think in the trailer, you see him in full dress, so it looks like he's at a hearing, and I imagine he'll probably get away with it. He'll probably say he was a terrorist, and I had to do what I had to do, and he just killed man. He'll probably get away with it for that, and then it'll come down.
I was going to say it's the classic cop military response, isn't it?
Yeah, it was always looking after his own. That's his job in the first place. If one of them killed, Battlestar, then he's, they'll say he's within his rights, so he'll get away with it. And then it will come down to Sam, and it'll come down to Bucky to take the shield off him, and then.
Well, and I think I saw some clips from this week's episode that I think immediately following last week's episode, they actually, I think, confront him in a warehouse, and I think they take the shield. I feel like the hearing happened after that. Maybe
they bring him in, and then
same turn of events essentially.
Yeah. Maybe they bring him in, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah. Well, I don't want to go too much into it because, but there is supposed to be a cameo in this episode, the classic Disney Plus Marvel cameo, of course, like in WandaVision. Yes. It's a cameo that has been spoke about as being someone we've never seen before in Marvel and in the MCU, and also someone who. The
connection with Thor.
Well, the director said he'd love to see him with Thor. Now, I don't. He's not. The person's never been in an MCU film and is not scheduled to be in an MCU film, apparently. Now, do you think they're pulling the trick on us again? Because
Luke Skywalker moments.
Yeah, because obviously the cameo in the original one in the WandaVision was Vision. A different version of Vision. So what if the cameo, the character we've never seen before, is Captain America Falcon, or Falcon Captain America, and it's just Bucky in a Captain America suit?
You mean Sam?
Yeah, Sam. Sorry, Sam.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're all waiting for it, right? At some point. I mean, that's the thing we all love, seeing a character kind of fully realized in like the full suit, like that moment of like ta-da. I could see it.
Yeah.
Because it does feel, especially after WandaVision, it feels certainly within the realm of possibilities. I think without WandaVision now, I'd be like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But, now we've had WandaVision, I'm like, I could see them doing it.
It is interesting.
It's very self-contained.
It is very interesting, and I know one thing, I'm when I wake up, I'm going to have to just watch it straight away, because I just know if I check my phone and I go on Twitter, like a name or an actor or something will just be there trending straight away. So I just know.
I was going to say, it happened to me with Mandalorian Season 1 with the finale. I stupidly checked Twitter before I'd seen the episode, and all I saw was a trending topic, and I was like, son of a bitch.
Son of a beast.
So yeah, and the one thing I saw this week, and I think I shared with you, was that I think the showrunner and some of the writers have said last week's episode was a really, really good one, but episode 5 is by far the favourite episode amongst the cast and crew.
And episode 6
that already tells me like
episode 6 is just them playing catch.
Frisbee catch, like frisbee golf,
or maybe
Sam's sister comes out and you stop ruining the bloody trees.
Maybe it's someone else we've already seen in this season so far suiting up. I'm just gonna leave that there. Maybe it's somebody else. Certain angry old man suiting up.
Oh, I wasn't going that way. I was thinking of Jacqueline Torres, because he has been Falcon character.
The other Falcon. Yeah, the other Falcon. No, he's crap. He hasn't done enough. No, that's gonna be really interesting. It could be like, I hope it's Howard the Duck, but we've already seen him. No, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a great. There's only 2 episodes left, man. I was like, there's only 2 episodes left, and then there's nothing till Loki, but there is the Bad Batch, but that's not gonna work for everyone, is it? You know what I mean?
Oh, but even then, that's a bit like.
That's what I mean.
I guess it's not that far away. Actually, it's May 4th, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, that'll be basically around the corner, won't it?
Yeah.
After 2 episodes, I know, but we'll get 2 episodes and then we'll get the making of it, won't we? That the week after, and then the week after.
Yeah. So the week after will be the 30th, and then
it'll be the Bad Batch, which is
the
starting.
next week.
The Bad Batch is actually starting on May the 4th, which is a Tuesday, and it's a 70-minute episode. And then the second episode, or technically the third episode, is on the Friday.
So going back to a Friday.
So So it's 70-minute on the Tuesday, then the Friday. So if you're interested in the Bad Batch, which is, if you know what that is, you know what that is. It's a Star Wars cartoon. There you go. Really looking forward to episode 5. It is out in 4.5 hours. So not long to wait.
Anyway.
Not long to wait at all for that one. Hennessy 95 says, can't wait for the next episode. Neither can I. He also says, lads, what's the story with the Red Skull guarding the Soul Stone? It's just, that's what happened to him. That's what happened to him. He got kicked into space, didn't he, at the end of First Avenger? Tesseract kicked him into space. And his penance was basically he had to protect that for all time. Until it was released, I believe. It was released, obviously, with... But it's been released twice, hasn't it? Thanos released it, and then...
Well...
In a different continuity.
But I guess... I wonder how they would have... Because technically there's a bit of a gap, isn't it, with the second one?
Yeah.
Like, so with the first one, with the main universe, like, that got destroyed. Essentially, Red Skull's free in the main... timeline, but like because he got released from,
but he didn't get
2014
released because he got took back by Cap, so he's still there protecting it.
He's about to like pack his bags, like finally leave the planet.
Oh, you son of a bitch! You've done it to me again, son of Agnes. Oh, I can't remember what his name is.
I was gonna say that would have been an interesting thing. Do you think Cap just snuck up and like? Shut up! I don't want him to see me.
Imagine Cat turning up going, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Why have you got no legs? What are you floating for? What's going on? Hello, Steve Rogers, son of Meredith. Son
of a bitch.
Imagine him. Oh, I was just... This is awkward. I was just leaving.
He just puts the Soul Stone down.
Cap's just like...
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Cap's just like... Nope. You're staying here. Anyway, there you go. 4.5 hours we've got to wait. I'm sure Aaron will stay up and watch it.
Well,
he is as well.
I will be in the Discord.
He's watching.
I'm gonna set an alarm.
Set an alarm. There you go. Looking forward to that. And if you want to get in the Discord, the link will be on our Twitter at Nerd Social Club, Instagram, Facebook, all the same. If you want the link for our Discord's amazing. If you want to get in there, it's just absolutely million. Always got different stuff, all different TV programs, films, anything that's going on. Make sure you check it out on the Discord. It's just somewhere good to just
games as well. As people get on, do gaming stuff
as together. Twitter gets worse and worse and worse. It's full of the scam and villainy of the universe.
As certain football teams just make us sad. It's a good place to go and hide.
All football teams make us sad. So check that out. Get involved. And we'll be back next week. If you want to listen to the audio version of this as well, check it out on all the places you get your podcast from. Because that's where.
If you're listening to the audio version, you can come watch the YouTube version as well.
Come watch the YouTube version as well.
Subscribe.
There you go. Yeah, we'll be back next week to discuss episode 5 and whatever else is gone in the next 7 days. See you all later. Goodbye.